Hi, everybody.
Hello, Professor.
Hi. How are
Hello.
you? How are you doing?
Good.
Week 2, yay! Well, at least for today, we are going to cover some concept and then programming. So we are going to do a little lab. I've been so busy, I forgot which day it is now, but lab today. If you're logged into Canvas, check out lab 2. I'll walk you through that. Yeah, it feels like, wake up, teach, work, eat, go to sleep, wake up, school. But it's good being a student, I remember my school days. It took me 5 years to get my doctorate. I did it part-time. And I paid full tuition fee every quarter. We went through quarter system. It was $5,000 a quarter. So I'm still in debt. It's like investing in a house, but some of my colleagues, it only took them, like a little bit over 3 years. So you will get there, light at the end of the tunnel, one step at a time,
I
So.
agree. Part-time is better though. I think it's easier to manage.
Yeah, I worked full time when I was going through my master's and my doctorate. During my doctorate years, I was working close to 50 hours or more a week, and then there were a lot of things going on with my parents as they got older. So it was challenging, but when you finish, it feels good. And, it's something that you will always have your degree. No one takes that away from you. So I encourage, if you can, go for graduate school, move up in the ladder, because in a lot of the management positions, even when you become like senior engineer or a developer, sometimes that extra degree gets you the paycheck. So yeah, and when you get higher and higher, and sometimes you can get a bachelor degree and make over $100,000 in development. My cousin in San Francisco makes well over 120 a year. He's a Java developer. He's a senior Java developer, Android developer for a company that does analytics and marketing in San Francisco. And he did game development at the beginning. Yeah, so I did my master's in 18 months, and I did a fast track master program. I got a master in science in information technology and IT with an emphasis in security management. That's really my area is in cybersecurity. And then somebody convinced me to take a few months off and did my doctorate. So it took me a little bit over 5 years. I finished in 2013. My goal was to get my doctorate before I turned 35. It was, and I was like maybe 36 when I got it. So, and I'm into my 40s now. So, but it is worth it. People say that it's not, but they lie. They don't know. Yeah. So set your goals and then, just milestone in your life. And so by this time, I want to achieve this and just work toward that. And even if you don't meet it, you can just continue. So that's good. So you're on a good track. Okay. All right. So yeah, if anytime you wanted to talk about higher education and what you wanted to pursue, I can give you some insights on how to be able to achieve that. I worked, I work right out of my bachelor degree, even before that in the field. So a little bit before that. So I can give you some ideas and some tips. So let's talk about what we need to go through today. I'm going to go into screen share here. Okay, sorry about my email there. Okay, so this week we're going to address, right now we're going to address lab 2. That's going to wrap up week 2. So we are going to start learning some programming parts. I'm not going to, make you do too much programming on your own except for the course project. All my labs, I've written it like a tutorial, right? You do this and this is what you're supposed to get. So I'm going to walk you through that. And if you need to spend a little bit more time doing it, that's fine with me. And I even walked you through some of the code. So this class, the prerequisite of it is CIS5. So it's not too advanced, nothing. And if you wanted to implement data structure because you know it for some of your program, that's fine. That's great. I encourage you to do that. But if you simply, write functions and things like that. So it's a very basic programming with the math concept. Download the lab 2. Sorry, I was doing my Python with networking class earlier. So let me get to my lab 2. I thought I had it open. Okay, so here's your lab. We're going to start out with bitwise operators. So your compiler itself can produce output for calculation as you have tested it in some of your other programming classes. But at the beginning, it just gave you an introduction. Let's say that if we say that A is 60 and B is 13, we can convert it to binary, right? So if you convert that, it would be equal to this, and then the B, it would be equal to this, okay? Now, when we apply the operator with this, right, like the logical operator, so here we have A and B, and then the next one to it is A or B, right? So there are different operator, and if you wanted to know what they are, I took a little image and I put it there for you. So the ampersand stands for the AND operator, okay? And what we can do is we can use this with the bitwise to give us, right, the binary. It depends on how you wanted to output that, but we'll look at our program. And then so in the expression, if you use the expression, if you have A and B, that's going to be 12, which gives you the binary is equivalent to 12, 8 plus 4, right, in decimal. So you will see that when you apply the logical operator and some of the operator, you're going to have a certain output. And then when we use the pipe, the line is called the pipe, that operator copies the bit if it exists in either operand. And when we pipe it, we would have it as 61 decimal, which is equivalent to this binary. So that's the example it gives you using A is 60 and B is another value. And then when you use the hat, that will be your exclusive OR, right? And so that would give you this binary. So what we're doing is we're going to try to take some of the concept that we talked about this week, and we're going to program it so that way you can see how to use some of these operator at the bitwise level, okay? And then when you do the complement, so the ones complement is, remember when we NOT it, when we flip the bits, so it uses the tilde, the little wiggly line. And simply when you NOT it, you don't need 2 input, you only need 1 input. So when you flip it, right, you have negative 61. Remember that A is 60 in decimal, right, in our example. So when you flip the bits, it's actually giving you that negative with an additional -1. So it's actually -61. And when we do the 2's complement, we have to add the 1 to it. So to make it -60, right? So in any case, when you have the first complement, it's going to be 1 extra. So that's why it's going to be -1 added to that. So that's why you have to do a +1 to get it to the actual negated value. So this gives you a little bit more understanding on how to work with the complements, like complement of 1 and complement of 2. And then when we use the shift operator, and in C++, right, you use the arrow, the double arrow to the left. All that is we're shifting the bit. So it says that the left operand's value is moved to the left by the number of bits specified by the right operand. So if we start with 60, what's going to happen is it's going to take the 60, remember, right? The 60 is like this, okay? And it's going to shift it to the left. So what happens is when you look at this value, the 2 bits that's going to shift to the left, this 2 0 in the front here drop off, and then the 1 is going to move to its place. So we're going to take 1, move 1 space over, and then another space over. So all of this, the front 2 0 drops off, and then we're going to shift, right, the 2 ones in the front 2 places over to the left side. So that's why you would get the 4 ones in the front and then the 0 in the back, because it has to fill out the 0 to hold nothing there. It at 0 volt. So that's why you would have the 4 ones and then the 0 0. Okay, so these 4 ones is going to come to the front, and then it's going to add the 2 0 in the back. Okay, so we simply move everything 2 places to the left. Then when you do a shift right, same concept, right? So when you do a shift right, what happens is these 2 is going to drop off. Okay, and then it's going to move these ones 2 places to the right. So the 4 ones is going to shift over 1 space, 2 space, and then it's going to fill in the 0 in the front to make it a full byte. So what you have is you can use the shift operator to really look at how your outcome would be. And this is a way that we can think about the decimal equivalent and the position of that bit, right? As you move to the left, it's more significant. So when you have the ones and you shift it to the right, it changes the actual value for that binary along with the decimal equivalent for that binary. Okay, so I want you to check that out. And for the example program, okay, you can use Visual Studio, you can use a text editor and then run it with the compiler. I use REPL. So let me get to my REPL here. And sorry, I'm trying to see where that. Why is it not keeping all my stuff? One second. So here's the bitwise operator. And when you write the program, it's going to store your CPP file here, and you can always download it. But it stores it in the cloud if you log in. So you can use your Google credential or another social media credential there. And so if you output, if you have like text file output, if you have like a file out, right, it also stores that here. And you can, you can add folder to it, you can add files to it. So if you build packages, you can also have the management capability there. Now, if you wanted to make a new file, you just click a plus, or when you visit a website, it's going to ask you what programming language do you want it to create. And then you just select C++. And I use C++, I think version 11 or 17 that they offer. And in the back, it uses the Linux to run that. So let's talk about the program. I'm going to shrink this real quick. Okay. So this program is pretty straightforward. It's a simple program. For C++, you need to include IOStream at the top. So that way you can have C in and C out. You can have input and output as text display. We would have using namespace std for our namespace. And then we simply build everything in main for this one. So in the main function, you have here declare and assign value to variable A. So you have a variable A, it holds integer, and you assign it 60 as, and that's our decimal number. It's a base 10 and it is a positive value. So in the type, we can type it with unsigned for positive and sign for negative. So C++ allows you to do this. So for variable B, we have a variable B that we assign it 13, and we have a third variable called result. It's going to hold also integer, and we initialize it as 0. And eventually we're going to store the value as we use the operator. So once you assign this, you can use that variable result, and you simply update the result by including the operator. So you on line 10, you would have result is A and B. Now you don't have to put in the comments like this. If you want to practice, using the operator, you can. If you want to use your calculator and comment it so you know what that's equal to, if that helps you, that's good. So once we operate it with the and don't forget the semicolon, check your syntax, the typical, right, for programming. So so for the result, you can have it unsigned. So if you wanted to keep it unsigned, you can. But in the case, Eric, when we do the complement, it might hold a sign number. So we wanted to keep it neutral there, where it's not signed or unsigned for the result, because depending on what you initialize for the other variable, for the operands, you need to think about what the result could be. If you have unsigned for the result, it's only going to store the positive. Okay. So you can, if you expect only positive value. Okay. And there's dependency in this, and what operator that you're working with and what value you assign to your A and B. Okay, so I hope I addressed your question. Okay, so at this point, we're going to have it output. We're going to do a C out, right? And a string saying that the result of A and B is, and the result, we're going to simply bring down the value. Then after the and, we're going to do the or, right? Exclusive or. We're going to do the first complement, and then we're going to do a complement with the and the or operator, so you can see. Okay. And then we're going to do a shift. So with the shift, when you do a shift to position, you would put the value for 2, right? You would say that it's going to move 2. If you want to shift higher, then you would use a higher value. And pretty straightforward. So after each of the statement that with the operator or multiple operators, you want to see out, so that way you know, because the computer is going to operate, right? It's going to calculate, it's going to process what you're telling it to do. But for human, we want confirmation in text. So that's why we have to have the C out so we can see the output. Just like for calculation, right? It will calculate, but you wanted to be able to obtain that value for reporting matter, or, to confirm that it is right? So, and at the end, you simply return 0, make sure that we have all the brace in place, right? Because that's for main. And once you finish writing the program, you simply run it. And for C++, right, if you're using Visual Studio, then you can build that program, and then it's going to output it onto the console. And here it tells us that, the AND operator, the OR, the exclusive OR, this is our decimal equivalent, right? So when we write a program in a higher language like this, it's still going to take everything that you input and convert it to 0 and 1. You know that. We talked about that last week and this week. So, but when it output it for you with the cout, it's going to convert it back using encoding. It's going to show you that with text as text. So that's what you would see, so you can understand what that means. Okay. So what I need you to do for number 1 is, sorry, I should close my other lab, is to write the program. Okay. But instead of using A and B, we're going to use P and Q and assign it a different value. So instead of using 60, we're going to use 40. And then instead of using the B value, we would use Q is 17. And you can do the same thing, right, as the program shows. But for the shift, we're going to shift 3 instead of 2. Okay. I do a lot of screen capture for my class. Some of you, I see that you've already taken my classes, so you know. It's a proof for me to see that you've done the program and you've done the code. So I need a screen capture of your code and your output. If you've never done screen capture before on your Windows PC, right? Let's say that I wanted to do screen capture of the active window. I simply hit the Alt key and the print screen, which is near the upper left of your keyboard. And of course, you can search for it online. And then for if you're using Mac OS, right, it has specific requirement in the keys that you would use. So what I did is I provided some information about how you would do a screen capture. So the instruction to take the screen capture. Now, if you wanted to use Windows snippet tool, like the little scissors, you can. You just clip it for me and it's in a PNG file. Ideally, you would have a document with all the screen capture and you would submit that document. If you submit individual images, that's okay too. It's just for the grading purposes, if I have everything in document, I can quickly look at it. And then I can zoom in on your code and I can take a look at it if there's issue with your code. Otherwise, I have to keep in Canvas, it asks me to select the next file in order to see. But if you submit the file, that's okay too, just as long as you have the screen capture. But so once you take the screen capture, just paste it into a document, for all your exercises and submit that. Okay. So we can simply edit the program or recreate this program and then reassign it the value that the exercise 1 require, and then run the program. Once you have the output, take the screen capture. Okay. Now this one doesn't have questions and answer, right? Question for you to answer, but some of the exercises will ask you to, solve this, do this, etc. I see a chat. Do you prefer screen captures right after the problem as attached? Yeah, that will be ideal. But some students would just turn in one and then they have to screen capture on their own, and the questions for the lab, if there are questions. If you wanted to put it at the end of the document, that's okay too. Okay. I'm not picky with the format as long as you show that you did it and I could see it and I could read your code or your output, then I'm okay with it. You know, it's up to you. But yeah, if you put it in the exercise 1, then I can see, oh, that's what you complete. And it's a good way for you to keep track instead of going all the way to the document and paste it. Okay. Or if you use a separate document, that's all right too. All right. Any question regarding exercise 1? Okay, so this is just a kind of like a warm up, but tied to our concept that we touched on. Okay, now, if you wanted to really do the binary part, you can also use your calculator so you can comment it so you can know, you would know what that is. But if you don't, that's okay. Okay. Make a habit of using comment effectively, right? We don't have to comment every line. In most program, we don't. We can comment the sections, or you can put in comments where you need to come back and fix something. So it basically, it's note to the developer. And so, you know, some faculty, they would ask you to comment the top, like course number, the exercise. I do it sometime with some of my classes because, you know, that way I can keep track of my program, but you don't need to. Okay. So any question? Okay. So if it's throwing error, rule of thumb, check your syntax. And the best way to do it is to look at the error, right? And it tells you which line it is. Go to that line and see what you typed. Okay, and then look at the screen capture that I gave you for the lab to make sure that it matches up. You might miss a semicolon or curly brace, or you have a typo. So check that. Okay, and syntax is simply a set of rules that we would follow for a particular type of language. Like English, we would write our sentence a certain way compared to Spanish or French or another language. So same thing for C++. We need to make sure. Yes, question?
Yes. So for this first part, all we do is we just write this code, run it, and then take a screenshot of it being run.
No, but you use a different value for exercise 1, and you use a different variable name.
Okay. But
Yeah,
we just run it and take the screenshot.
right. And I like for you to look at each line that you're writing to understand, right? And that's the whole point, not just to copy it, but to understand what it's doing in the program. Sure. But the output of it is screen captures. Yes. So please look at the lines and see what you're actually telling the computer to do. And that way, maybe weeks from now, right, moving away from this, when we do recursions and stuff like that, hopefully I can elevate you to that part where you would understand everything when you read code. A lot of people at the beginning level, they're great at writing program for most part, but when they start reading a complex program, when you read code, then they come across challenges because they don't have the basic foundation. So if you understand programming concept, right, reading code should not be a challenge, no matter how they write it. So, we start with the very basic today. Okay, and reading code help you debug. Okay, so use different variable instead of A or B, use P and Q, and then assign it different value. You can use int result if you want, you can name it something that would be relevant. And using variable name, make sure that it's relevant to the program and it's easy to see for your own sake. Any other questions on 1? So as we do this, now we know how to use the operators in C++. And this and is a little bit different than what you would use double ampersand, right? So at Bitwise, you only need to use the single. Okay. Compared to if you write a program and you have an if statement, if this and this, right, you would use the double ampersand and the double pipe. Okay.
Quick question, actually.
Sure.
About problem 1, if we're using the calculator to just confirm that the results from the code are correct, let's say for like E or F, how would we enter that properly?
So this one would be a not,
Not, right? Okay.
and then this one is an and, but make sure that you put in parentheses for the and then not it. So
Okay.
it's a NAND actually. So if you
Okay.
have a NAND button on your calculator, it's a NAND.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, yep. And then the F is the NOR. Tricky. Good question, actually. Last semester they didn't ask me that, but I did explain it in the prior. So yeah, so this would be a NAND and this would be a NOR. And then this is a NOT. And then this is just a shift. That you kind of have to manually do that to see how it shifts over, and then take that value and convert it to decimal to see if it's correct.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
One more question for G and H. What would we use for that?
So you have to, like I said, you have to manually do it. So first, you convert this into binary. Okay. And then you move everything 3 places to the left.
Okay.
So the front, if you have, and then, so when it's going to drop off and then it's going to add in the value. So use that to check against what the compiler is giving you.
Okay.
Okay. In binary, convert it to decimal and you can see. And a quick trick to check it, right? You can replace it with a 1, a 2, and then use a 3, so you can see the drop off in the digit, right? So if you run it with a 1, it's going to drop off 1. It's going to shift 1, and then shift again, and shift again, and shift again. So that way you can see how it shifted to the left. Okay. So while you're wrapping that up, let me find out what happened to my folder. All right. Then we're going to next talk about Boolean. Okay. So before going into 2, I give you some explanation about Boolean variables. Bool is also a type, right? And that is going to return either true or false. And at the binary level, it's going to give you 1 or 0. And Bool is named after George Bool. Okay. So basically, we're working with truth table on this one. And if you're using a unary, my husband, he always make fun of me about how I said that unary minus operator, it can be used to make the integer negative. So basically, like the till, we have it as a not, or we can also use the exclamation in C++. Okay. What that does is it flips the bit when you not something, it changed, right, from 1 to 0 and 0 to 1. It's true to false and false to true. So now it also explains to you that Boolean values are not stored as Boolean variables in the word true or false. It is stored as 0 or 1, right, at the binary level. So when it converted, you can see it as true and false, right? The compiler does some of that for you. So we would be able to, it automatically converts that for you. So with the bool type, it would change true to 1 and false to 0. And that's what it's saying there in that section. Okay, so let's look at this program. I just want to make sure that's the right one. And this one, again, is very easy, right? Few lines, get it done, right? So we have include IO stream. Notice that I'm not using namespace std there. So if you don't do that, then you have to do : for all of these things. So to avoid the extra stuff with the std, you can simply add that statement at the top, okay? And you learn that in CIS5. So with the main function, we built everything in main on this one because it's just going to be output. We wanted to output true, what that would be as an integer value. And then not false. Remember, this is a not false. So when it's something is not false, that will be true, right? So we would expect a 1 there. And then and then we would use the boolalpha, okay? And boolalpha is built in. So this is a way that we can print the actual text true and false. So when we run this, right, the first one, line 5, gives us a 1. You see that there on the right. That's the first number 1. Line 6 gives us another 1. And then we told the computer that we're going to use boolalpha. We don't want for it to output 1 after the first 2. We wanted for it to say true or false, right? So then we would use true and not false, which is another true. So it gives me true and true. Okay. So a way that you would output the actual text true or false is to use boolalpha. Okay. And in this one, we have no variable, nothing, right? We just simply do a cout, straightforward. So what I'm trying to show you is that how the computer sees true or false and what we would see as the word true or the text true, the string true, right? It sees it as 1. And if you see false, that computer sees it as 0. And then if you implement the boolalpha, then it can output this, it can see out, it can display the actual string, true or false. So at that point, it's going to have to convert it, right? To say that 1 is equal to true and see out true in string. So that is our simple program. So for number 2, I want you to use this example, and you're gonna write pretty much the same, but you're gonna switch it up. So instead of true and not true, you're gonna do a false and not false. Okay. And then, oh, I think I'm showing you the next one. Sorry for the confusion. This one. Anyway, so now in this example, you would do a bool variable, okay, for 2. So bool is the type, and then you can give your variable a name. And here you simply pass whatever value that you would be for that variable. So it would say bool variable and then false. And then you bring down the value that was used in the argument here. That would be B. So it's going to take false and it's going to plug it here, okay, which give you a 0. And then for line 9, and then not false is going to give you a 1. Okay. So for example 2, you use a variable and you do a false and then not false. But when we do the exercises, we're going to flip it around. So for line 5 and 6, you're going to do a true and not true. I'm sorry, a false and not false. And for line 8 through 10, you're going to swap it up to be true. So you need to put true in your as argument on line 8. So instead of the word false, you're going to put true inside the parentheses and then pass it, be able to use that for the variable and not true. Okay. So switch it up.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you want us to strictly use numbers and not the variables?
Okay, so the way the program is designed for number 2, I'm sorry for the confusion, is only numbers, right?
Okay.
And then the next one, we're gonna do the boolalpha. Okay. Yeah, so for number 2, you can simply output it 1 and 0. It's okay. Okay, so if I edit this program, right, if I wanted to switch it up, I just need to change this to false and then not false, right? And then pass true in here. And then when I run it, it should look like this. 0, 1, 1, 0. And again, if you don't using namespace std, then you have to do the double colon with the std. Okay. And in front of the C out and in front of the end line. But if you use that, you can mitigate that. And you just have C out false, and then end line.
What is
So-
STD?
For the using namespace std, it would it would pin back to, it identifies the namespace for that program which pertains to memory locations for specific functions, objects, etc. So in C++, if you don't do that, you have to, so because when we do a C out and a C in and all of that, it needs to point back to that particular namespace to be able to utilize that. And when you work with other languages like Python, you can actually, you can have a method that pass and it would list all the namespace hierarchy in the namespace for certain things like main. Okay. So in this case, we're using the mains function, and then with that inside it because we nest in cout and other processes within it, it's going to be able to map it for you. That's basically that. And that would be, I know that when I taught 17A, that was something that we touched on the first week, even the first day. So go back and review your C++ programming classes. That's going to help. It's also important to keep on practicing programming so you don't forget. Okay. And you will get better as you do it. So the program is going to get a little longer every week, right? A little bit more complex every week. So this is the very basic. So for number 2, I just simply want you to switch it up and you can output 1s and 0. For number 3, you would do a bool alpha. And as I mentioned before, bool alpha is going to give us the text instead of 1s and 0. So for 3, all you doing is it's going to be, we are going to make it all true. Okay, so the program illustrates use the true. So here it shows true and false. So if you make it all true, so it'll be true, true. So it's going to be 1, 1, and then true, true. Or if you clever, you can do a not false and see what it does. Any questions with 2 or 3? So if you have 2 written, you can edit 2 real quick and save it as a different program for 3. But when you use REPL, if you edit that, it's going to edit that particular version. Okay. Okay, good. And if you're curious, REPL stands for read, edit, and play. Okay. That's really a Python thing if you're into Python, read, edit, and play. So it's basically Python use interpreter instead of a compiler. But everything comes back to C, right? If you write in Python, it's still UC compiler to handle most of the stuff. Okay, any questions? Good. If you have questions, please stop and ask. No rush. Okay, let me find my program. I'm gonna organize it after this class. I thought I had a folder for it. So in projects and other classes, right, we don't put everything in main. That's the beginner approach. Okay. In the future sessions, when we write our program, we will use, we will prototype function and define functions for C++. But the simplest program is that you would have everything in main. Okay. So this one is not it. Okay. Anything? I'm going to move to 4 now. Okay. And then we only have a little bit left after that, number 5. There's some questions with number 5. Okay, so the beginning of 4, we're gonna go back to the logical operator. And in this one, we're not using it for bitwise, so we have to use the double ampersand and the double pipe, okay? And you would, if you took CIS5 or if you take 17A or other classes, you've used this a lot, especially with conditions or control statement. We would say if this and this, or if something or something else, right? We would implement that to be able to control the flow for your program. So the double ampersand is a logical and. Both side of that, which are called operands, are non-zero. Then the condition becomes true. Okay, so when you use it with an if statement, both sides have to be, they have to be true in order for the body of if to execute. Now with the or, only one needs to be true in order for the body to execute. So in the next one, it talks about the logical or. If any of the 2 operands is a non-zero, which could be a 1, the condition becomes true. So if the left is true, then it's going to be true. If it's 1 on the left, it's going to be true, right? Non-zero. If the right is any non-zero, it's going to be true. Okay. So the or, it doesn't require both operands. The and require both operands, both sides to be true. Okay. So for the not, we're going to use the exclamation point instead of the till. The till is used at bitwise level. And this just reverse the logical state of its operand, right? When we flip the bits. If the condition is true, then the not operator will make it false. So it would be applied like this, A and B and not that. So this is the NAND. Okay. All right. So for 4, this is a, let me double check. Sorry, I don't have the right one on here. That was the insurance discount one. I'll just explain it in the other thing. All right. So, okay, so let's take a look at this program. This program start with, the simple, you got the header, using namespace std, and then you have the main. Now in here, what you have is you have a constant, and this is a double type. And the reason why we use double here is because we're storing larger value, right? And you'd often see double being used for like prices, income, etc. And I have min income is $35,000. And for the number of years, that's going to represent the number of years at their current job. That will be 5. Okay. Now, double income, this one is not a constant. It's going to store the value when the user input their annual income. So the program is going to prompt the user, what is your annual income? And then they will enter it. That will be stored here in this variable income. Then the program is going to prompt the user how many years they've been working at their current job. That will be stored in the years. Okay. So after that, what we will do is once we declare these variables, and then an exception for these, we assign the values to them for the constant. And this doesn't change. That's the minimum requirement for our loan application. Okay. So we would have a C out. What is your annual income? And then we're going to see into income. And then we're going to prompt them again. How many years have you worked at your current job? And then we're going to see into the years. So it's going to store the input value there. And then we have an if statement. Okay. If not income is greater and equal to min income, or years is greater than minimum years, you can do greater and equal there. You're going to see out you earn at least this much, right? And have been employed this many years. So we wanted to show what they have entered. And that will be else you qualify. Now, a way that we can, instead of using the not operator here, is, so the not operator here basically check for what? It's going to check to make sure that if they're not meeting $35,000 and 5 years at their job, right, they're not going to qualify. Okay, so we're checking for not qualification, because if they are above that, then it would go to else and it would say qualify. And you don't have to do it this way. The way that I wanted to illustrate this is to be able to implement the not operator, right, and the or. Okay, so it's going to check for the minimum income or the years of their job, because the idea is that if somebody works at their job for more than 5 years, there's stability and they would be able to pay back the loan. Okay, so with this if statement, we wanted to check to make sure that they are one or the other, and they would qualify. Okay. So when you build this program, you then would use that in the if statement. And you know, you don't have to make it exactly like this, but I wanted to show you how you can use the logical operator there. Okay. Now that really represent the not or the nor, where we would disqualify applicants based on minimum annual income and years of current employment. You can refer to the example. You don't have to make it exactly like that, but I want you to think about how you would use a not or operator, where you would check for student that has earned a associate degree. So basically you're creating a program that would run something like on a web advisor, right? It would check to see if the student has earned an associate degree by completing 60 credit or 5+ semester as a full-time student. Okay. And I think I have it. Let me see if I put it under. So this is the program with the logical or. So instead of the income, you can say int min credits 60, right? Const int min semester 5. And then you would ask for, int user credit or student credit, int student semester. And then you would see out how many credits have you earned, how many semester have you attended as a full-time student, and then apply the if condition. I thought I wrote it, but I can't find it right now. Okay. So take the concept from the example and you can implement it to check for whether the student earned an associate degree or not. And in this one, we are simply putting everything in main. And if you wanted to elevate that and write function for it, more power to you. You can have a function to check for the credit earned, and you can have another function to check for the semester that they completed. And then you simply call the function in the main. Okay, so take that template and think about how you would put it into a program to check for student credits and for associate degree. If they don't meet that, then they have to keep taking classes, right? That would apply to the degree. So you can see out the proper string. Any question?
Do you want us to keep it at 5 years?
5 semesters is the requirement for the exercise, and 60 credits is the number of units, or 60 units that they have to complete. So instead of doing income, you're going to do student credit or the earned credit, that will be 60. And then the semester, it will still be 5. Yep. Because 5 semester would give you a little bit over 2 years. So average lifespan of the community college student for associate degree is about close to 3 years, but it's a little bit over 2. Okay. So with that, you would know how to create a program to check for credits. And then you can scale it out, right? You can ask them, you know, things like for their name, their information, and then if they've been a full-time students or not, because sometimes they might not be a full-time students. It might take them longer. Because if they take 12 credit per semester, 12 times 5 is 60. So we need to have 60 and above. Greater and equal to 60. Greater and equal to 5 semester. Any other questions for number 4? So take the example, but make sure that we apply the requirement here. And then when you're done, make sure that you provide the screen capture of your code and your output. So I know, and if you do REPL, you can, you know, do that all in one. And if you do Visual Studio or an IDE, just bring your console in, open it up, and then next to your code, and you can just do one screen capture where you don't have to take multiple screen capture. That will be fine. But if you do take multiple screen capture, that would be okay too. So in the case in number 4, we're checking for if one of the condition is true, is because with the OR, we're only going to check for one of the operand, right? If one of the operand is going to be true, then that's going to be met for the OR, the logical OR. Any other questions? This is a little longer, so I'll give you some time to work on that. Okay, thank you. All right. And you don't have to submit it tonight. You can work on it for the next couple of days. If you wanted to spend a little bit more time on it, that will be okay, right? Because I put the due date for this weekend. So If you finish it tonight, then you don't have to worry about it. You can turn it in. And I started doing some grading for your class. I hope to get all my 5 classes completed for mostly week 1 and 2. I put in attendance, which it links to the grade, but haven't been able to get through everything. Okay, let's talk about the next one. If I'm going too fast, let me know. If you need some time, right? If you want to go back to something and ask question, please let me know. So for example 5, this is a program using the logical AND operator to qualify for special loan interest. And I wanted to use like real world scenarios so you can see, and I'm sure you've seen this in your programming classes. Okay, let's go back to our and okay, so in this program, I want to make sure it matches up. Yep. So in this program, we're going to use the logical AND operator. We have IO stream at the top using namespace std. Here's our main. Okay. And we're using char here because we wanted them to answer yes or no. Okay. And keep in mind that I'm not input validating. So, if they type in the lowercase, it would not catch that. I'm only using capital letters. So, we can make it more specific, or if you wanted to input validate it, you can. Okay. So the employed variable is going to store their answer for yes or no, because we're going to ask them, right, if you are currently employed. And then I have another variable that's also going to store yes or no, and it's going to be if they have graduated or not. Okay. Or they're a recent graduate. Then we would ask them to answer the questions. We have a C out here. Answer the questions with either yes or no. Okay. Y for yes and N for no. That's why we have a char type for both of them. Then we prompt them, are you employed? Yes or no. Okay, so when they enter that, it's going to store in the employed variable. Then we're going to have another prompt. Have you graduated college in the last 2 years? Because this might be a discount for a recent graduate, right? Then they're going to enter their answer, either yes or no, and it's going to store in recent grad. Then next, we have the if statement. If they answer both yes, okay, then we're going to tell them that they qualify for the loan. Else, then we have to display you must be employed and have graduated from college in order to qualify for the loan. Okay. Under the assumption that, if they completed college, they'll get a good job, right? And if they have a job, then they will pay back the loan. Okay. So here in this case, it's going to check for both yes. If any time that they input no for either question, it's going to disqualify them. Okay, so we can test it. So I can say that I'm employed, but I didn't graduate in the last 2 years, so no. So it didn't give me a loan discount. Okay. Or the special interest rate. So with the things that you need to look for the student beginning to program for C++, right? Make sure that we have the proper braces when we close out the body of our control statement. And then since this is built in main, that's fine. Okay. Make sure that we close that out. Now, once you look at the program for number 5, you are going to use that template, that example, and you wanted to check for loan interest, or you wanted to check for the user for the card discount. And you see this with insurance company, right? They ask you if you are 21 years or older, assuming that most people in the United States get their driver license at 16, but not all, right? And then it checks to see if you have more than 5 years of driving experience. So we wanted to make sure that they're older than 21 and they've been driving for over 5 years. Then we will give them an insurance discount. So this one I know I have because I've seen it just now. Okay, and we can use the same thing. So I just basically modify the other one and save it over. So I have for number 5, I have the main function, and inside it I have char over 21 years driving. Okay, those are the variable. And then I tell them to answer the question with either Y or N. Are you older than 21 years of age? Yes or no? Then store it into the variable. Then next, I would prompt them again. Have you been driving more than 5 years? Yes or no? Store it in years driving. Then I use the if statement to check for both criteria. Over 21, yes, or if it's yes, and if they're driving over 5 years as yes, then we would qualify them for insurance discount. Else, we tell them that they need to be over 21 and they need to have 5+ years of driving experience. Okay. And that's basically the requirement for number 5. So once you complete that, you would take the screenshot of your code and your output, put that in the document, and then submit it. Any question? And you don't have to write it this way, right? There are ways that you can still use the AND operator to be able to address this. And you can be more fancy with your program. You can, like I said, you can create function for each of the things. Okay. You can, you can think of input validation. So this program is definitely at the very basic level. We can add more to it to make it more functional and more realistic. Stuff like that. Okay. But ultimately, we're learning how to use the logical and in this one with the if statement. Any question? The lab is a little shorter today. There will be time that we will go all the way to the end. Okay. No questions to be answered, just screenshot for the first C++ lab that we're doing. In the future labs, there will be some questions to really tie back the concept to the exercise. But this is a warm-up exercise for you. I teach Python in the afternoon and then switching over to C++. Sometimes I get a little, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this with C++. But I have my student SSH into the Linux system today. I demo some of that through Python script. It was pretty fun. Okay, so if you're done with everything, you can submit it, or if you wanted to wait, you can. Just make sure that you turn it in by Friday. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so there's a question about taking additional different type of programming languages, right? If you are transferring to UC, Cal State University, there's a requirement with computer science or math and science. You know, they're going to require you to take like 17A, 17C, because those are transferable classes. This class, assembly, which is CIS7, and then, you know, but if you do take Java, like 18A and 18C, the university, they take those too, okay? So I wanted to say, when you get maybe at least 1 or 2 semester into, you know, if it was me, I'll take it the second semester if I can learn, you know, if I'm pretty okay with C++, then I can start, you know, once you grasp the programming concept, the other languages are pretty easy. JavaScript is good if you're planning to do some web-based development. JavaScript is like the easiest language to learn. I think it's way easier than C++. I think most student learning C++ is good. It's a good base, but if you're looking for an easy language to learn, JavaScript and Python are the easiest to learn. Yeah, so we will do some random stuff in this class, like randomizing and using some algorithm and implementing, not so much formula so much, but you will see some algorithm being implemented for this class. And then, you know, taking the concept from this class, you can apply it for assembly, you can apply it for algorithm class in university level, you can apply it for other, you know, upper division classes. So I don't intend to teach it with a very complex level to begin with, but we're going to build the knowledge as we go. We will program, you know, a program that's going to do cryptography for us, at least on the console level. So yeah, there will be time that it's going to be a little harder, but I explain all the code, so it should help you. Okay. So I have a few students in this class that were in my Python class and Java class. Jason's one of them. It does get a little bit confusing if you're not familiar with the syntax at first, but once you get it, it should be easy. You will fall right back into it. You know, it really depends on your personal preference on how you would be able to do that. But some students tell me that it's hard for them to learn both languages at the same time, but some they seem to be doing okay. They have done like C++ with Java with me before, or Python with Java, and so forth. For me, like I normally like to learn a language throughout. Like I would do C++, beginning, intermediate, and advanced, and then I would transition. But once you get to that point, you should be able to write as long as you know, if you know the syntax, and you can read the documentation for some part. So yeah, you should take 17A before 17C. Okay, C is a hard class. C is data structure. And then 18C is data structure for Java. But you can use database. Okay. And Python CIS30E, that is the advanced Python, where you would do some data analysis with database. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to teach that class or not. It really is a toss-up between, you know, if the faculty wants to teach it, other faculty, if they want to teach it, they can. But I usually teach Python for cybersecurity and networking and all of that good stuff. It's, you know, and the intro to Python. I wrote those courses, so I like to start teaching them to see how they work out with the students. Okay. Yeah, so you don't, if you create a variable that has a long, lengthy name, it could be hard to read or it could be confusing, but that's a developer choice. Okay, practice-wise, it's, you know, it's convenient if it's short, but sometimes, you know, you might have to use longer name for the variable. You should use upper and lowercase together, right? The lowercase start in the uppercase, or you can use, you know, some, depending on the language of C++, you can use underscore. Okay. But in the larger program, the more clear you are, the easier it is for you to troubleshoot. Good points. And Jason added good points. It's convenient if it's short, right? But it doesn't really matter too much. It's really the developer call. And you can always go back and clean up, you know, improve your program over time. Okay, any questions? So if you have time this week, I know that you're taking physics or you're taking classes that might occupy a lot of your time, but you can pre-read into the next. So this, it's going to lead us into, so I'm going to give you my outline. I don't know if I put the chapters on the thing. So for unit 3, and I will open it on Monday. So next week, we're going to have a homework assignment where we're going to do a quiz review that's going to prepare us. If you took my class before, you know that I do a quiz game, and there's a chance for you to win a $25 gift card to Amazon for the highest winner. I will open that up for the quiz review as well. But as far as the next chapter that you're gonna read, we are gonna go into sets, which is we're gonna skip 5 and 6. 5 for now mainly. We're gonna come back to 5. I wanted to save that for a later time, so we can write the cryptography program and prepare for our project. So, but if you wanted to read, you can read the chapter on sets. If you have a later edition of the book, it's actually chapter 8, but in the download version, I think it's chapter 7. And then you can look through. So we will look at sets and Venn diagram, and then we will talk about set STL, how to use sets, and, you know, looking at the number, the math side, and then the programming side. Okay, so check that out. And, you know, if you're done, submit your stuff, type in your name in the chat. I will see you next week, but I'll stick around for questions or help if you need help. And thank you for attending. Good night. You're welcome. I'll stick around for a bit in case you have questions for lab or lecture.
Professor, I had a quick
Yes.
question about number 3 on the lab. So on the lab,
Number
it says,
3?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it says create a C++ program that illustrates the use of std bool alpha to print true bools values only. So does that mean like I could just put the, because I'm looking at the example and then it's the first, you don't
Change
the
the
first couple,
first line. Uh-huh.
yeah, you don't change those two, but then after you type bool alpha, then would I just write true for both of the couts for the following, or?
You just have it all true. So line 5 stays the same. Line 6, you change the false to true. And then line 10, you keep it true. And then line 11, you would change the false to true. So it should
Oh,
print,
okay.
it should print 1, 1, true, true.
Oh,
Everything
okay,
is
okay.
true. Yeah, I know I need to go back and fix it. I think every semester it's not clear enough, so I need to make it clearer. But yeah, all
Oh,
true.
okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was like, wait, am I maybe like overthinking it or?
Yeah, so I think I know what you're saying is that if you thought that I wanted like bool alpha at the top where you would have it, convert everything to bool alpha. Not, yeah, no, I just wanted like for you to see that if it's 1, 1, it means it's true, true.
Oh, okay. All right,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, for the first program, what is your question? I had put 40 and 17 and get the binary, but I didn't get anything. Okay, so for the first program, the way it's written is like this. Let me go back. So it's a bitwise. Yeah, you're not going to get the binary. You're going to get a decimal. So let's say that I changed this to 40 and I made this into 17, like what the program asked you, right? And I run this. This is the output. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not in screen share. What good is that? Okay. So I changed up my program. So the exercise one asks you to use the value of 40, and then you might want to edit the variable name, and then 17. So when you do this, this is your output. You're going to get a different output, right? So binary wise, if you want to comment it with the binary, you can comment it with the binary, do the conversion. And if you wanted to use a calculator, you would go to Bitwise and you can use the operator there. Okay. So if I have a decimal 40, right, here's my binary. And then if I wanted to use 40 and, right, we can do an and. Okay. Decimal 17. You would get a 0. Okay, which is all 0 for the 8 bits. And then so you can, if you wanted to use that as a comment, you can. Okay. But for the program itself, the output is just in console and it's convert everything back to decimal for you. But we wanted to see what the computer sees. So if you'd like to comment, that will help you see what the computer sees. But you are welcome. Any other questions?
For part 4,
Yeah.
I'm changing everything to adjust to the problem. So I changed, like for instance, the min income variable. I changed it to min credits equal to 60. I changed minimum years to minimum semesters to 5, or that stayed the same. And then changed like the variables to credits, semesters. Changed the display to say how many credits have you completed, semesters. And then the if statement I also changed to represent the correct variables.
That's
And
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it that way. That's the simplest way for, many students. And then some other students, they choose to change it up. Yeah, that was the intention, is to show you an example, and you can use that example to write a similar program. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then I just have comments kind of correctly put all over, but I have comments for like everything. Is that okay?
Yeah. So the whole point is that when you get to university now, they do boot camp where you have to test, basically it's a 2 week of just programming and you have to solve the problem. Sometimes it's business cases, like kind of like this, but they would sometimes give you more complex problem that you would see. So, understanding how to approach it and start solving it, that's the direction of this class, right?
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Practice.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
For number 5, it says has been driving for 5+ years. So is 5 included in that?
Yes. So you wanted to, hold on, let me get to this one. So you wanted to put for the years, right? Because you don't need to include the 5. You just need to ask them if they've been driving for 5 years. The way I wrote it.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
write it where they have to input the value, like you can ask them, how many years have you been driving? If you storing as an integer, then you have to make sure that you convert the type and then check accordingly, right? You can do it that way too. That's perfectly fine. Okay, but the way I did it, I just asked for a yes or no answer. Any other questions? You are welcome. Bye. Take care, Devin. Good night.
Professor,
Yes, Mario.
is it okay to ask some off-topic questions? Because I have some
Sure.
questions on the all cybersecurity and that sort of stuff. Do you have like any lecture videos I could watch? Because I that's something that I've also wanted to do, but I don't really know where to start on that field, I guess.
I teach a CIS 27 class right now, which is it's called network and information security, but it's really geared for security plus certification, which is an industry certification offered by CompTIA. I have a YouTube channel. If you've been watching my YouTube video that's linked to the Canvas class, that's coming from my YouTube channel. You can search for me, and I put everything in a playlist. So I'm doing an online class right now. So they haven't gotten really far. So we've only been in week 2. I also did I did like last semester, I did non-credit courses, which cost student nothing for the non-credit certificate, which is like 16 hours per course. And it is just like security, networking, and computer repair. So I have some videos on my channel, but it's not linked to a playlist or anything like that, but you can probably find it. And then I also taught a forensic class. So I lecture, and then we did some of the lab. But a good one that you can probably look at is it's called Professor Messer, and he does certification review, and he's on YouTube. I tell my student to watch his video because it talks about security and stuff like that. Here, if you want, like, are you looking to do like ethical hacking or something?
Yeah, like that's the stuff I've sort of been interested in, but like I haven't.
You like programming, right?
Yeah.
Check out this guy. And for Python. Oh,
Yeah, because that was something I was thinking of getting a degree in, but I think the only one that offers it that you can transfer to is like San Bernardino. I don't know if you
I
see
know.
that
I
one.
know there is Cal Poly San Luis Obispo has a program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can check their stuff out. I've seen it on their thing, but San Bernardino is a pretty big one in this area. And then, of course, there are a nonprofit school that offers it. I know National articulated with us. Yeah, no problem, Abdel. It's okay. They most of them completed the lab, so if you wanted to check that out, and then if you have questions, let me know. I'm just answering questions right now. Okay, no problem. That's not a problem if you are. Yeah. So for Mario, for as far as if you wanted to pursue, you have to. Here's the person that I put in the link, I mean his name, you can find him on YouTube, and he does some stuff on LinkedIn Learning and other like Udemy and stuff like that. But he's a former NSA hacker. He's good in Python. I watch some of his stuff too. So you can find web scraping, programming with scripting, and he talks about how you can set up the lab. And then he does some really good tutorial. But and then if you wanted, because there's so many different areas in cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's why, because
Okay.
it's so broad. So I mean, the farthest I've gone is just like installing like I think it was Kali Linux on a virtual machine and my laptop and just messing around with that. But that's the farthest I've gone in terms of cybersecurity and ethical hacking and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of professionals now that releases stuff on Kali and programming and stuff like that. like for cybersecurity, get good at Python. That's going to help you, and also
Mhm.
some web programming language like JavaScript. But a lot of the stuff that we use is already pre-built tools. You can, if you can build your own tool with Python script, that's a plus. And that's some of the classes that I'm teaching, is to kind of look at some of how you can build the tools. But I don't know if anyone has shown you this, but let me show you. So I can give you a little bit better perspective. So this is cyberseek.org. And then when you look at California, you can look at the number of jobs that's available in certain state and certain location in the United States. And then if you wanted to know the type of career, you can look at career pathway. And then with this, you know, with the entry level, so let me zoom in, it's kind of small. Oops. So the cybersecurity specialist, that is usually, it has some ethical hacking component with it, using Kali Linux, testing, assessing, and then some network defense. But the important part in security is networking. If you don't understand networking, you do not do security. So in any case, if you want to learn something that relates to security, that would be networking. And then this is more on forensic, and we offer a class CIS27A. I taught it last semester, and it's part of a certificate. So, you know, if you wanted to do cybercrime analysis, that one. And then incident response is also that. There's a lot of jobs in that. But the hard part about getting into this area is to get the internship in this area. And the best way to get into it is through law enforcement. Like, find the police department and apply as an intern, city, stuff like that. There are, because in this area, you don't see a lot of forensic lab. So, but in San Diego, Orange County, LA, there are forensic lab and company that does this, right? They investigate cybercrime. And then incident response, this kind of tie with this, but also the other one. So, and you can see the salary base. But auditor, you can get certification in this. So there's, but from a development standpoint, right? You can become an analyst, you can become an engineer, you can become an architect, you can also become a vulnerability tester. So I think this is where your interest was when you said Cali. So you can be a pen tester, and the certification for this is EC Console. CEH. If you take the CIS27B, you can certify for the associate level with us for free this year. I might offer it. In the next semester in the
So
fall.
what I have to take, like the CIS 27A?
So CIS27, no A or B, is the security plus. Take that one. And then if you are interested in ethical hacking, you would take the B, and then the A is the forensic. 27A is forensic. I'll show you the certificate. If you look at the catalog, we're gonna do a better job listing the courses. So if you look at the catalog, we have another certificate that's going to come in the next catalog, which is cybersecurity for healthcare. And then let's find page, I believe, if you look at the CIS 27, it lists all the courses. So on page, I think 119 and forward, 119 and 120, you will find the certificate. So there's the Python one, and then here's the IT specialist is more like network support and IT support. And then the cybersecurity one is following that. These are just, I went too far. Where is it? It's before the game simulation. Yeah, so It's on the bottom. Support and sales. Here's that one. Here's the specialist one. So the top of 19 lists all the courses. So you can take 27 Python, forensic, ethical hacking, and analysis. That's really the area for this specialist. And then there's another one that's gonna come in the next level. So you can have like multiple of these certificate by taking, because they share courses. They have some courses that are the same.
Oh.
Yeah, so the analyst one, you're gonna have to take this one, this one, the 27, the 41A, and then some other ones. So a student can have multiple certificate. The way I had it written is that it can be overlapping because this field is overlapping all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, if I wanted to like say pursue more, where do you think I should, like, what certificates should I have?
So if you take these courses, right, if you wanted to pursue, I would take CompTIA Security Plus. Okay. And with this class and some of the other classes, Security Plus, going back to the website that I had shown you earlier, let's see. Security Plus is highly demanded at the very low level of that type of position.
Mm.
So CompTIA Security Plus. And you can study on your own, or after you take CIS 27, you can prepare doing that class. I lecture to the concept of Security Plus in CIS 27. Okay.
What was it called? The certificate you said?
It is, let me see, I'll show you I don't know if I'm still in. So it is Security Plus, and it's by CompTIA. And then if you wanted to check out the college catalog, it's page 108. It lists the courses. And all of those certificate in page 107 to 109, you're going to see that those are the CIS ones that we offer. RCC has similar, we shared some stuff, and we have some stuff that are different. But MVC, I wrote this for Moreno Valley College, and it's state approved. So 27 is transferable to Cal State San Bernardino. I'm working on getting 30A articulated. I think it's in the process now, but we articulated CIS 30A with UCR because UCR started teaching Python a while back. And then if you wanted to do a bigger certificate, there's an IT one, right? That has 24 units and it covers the other little certificate combined. There's some classes that are the same, some are not. Okay. So that gives you an idea of what classes.
Yeah.
I will have them edit the website and add it more detailed, like with the drop down list later on. But if you wanted to just do Python only, you know, and the Python I wrote it has security and development component. So Python for IoT, cybersecurity, networking, programming, and advanced.
Yeah. This helps a lot just because I don't know. When I talked to the counselor, there wasn't that many colleges that did like a articulation agreement or whatever. So I didn't really know what class I should be taking, what I should be certified in.
So if you get an associate degree in like information system or something like that, they call it, right? CAT, the computer application one, is very software. It's like application installation, how to use it. It's different. If you do get a math and science degree, you can definitely transfer. Right now, I'm working on the IT information technology certificate, converting that into an associate degree. I'm submitting it after this week. So it takes a little bit of time to go through chancellor office. So hopefully by next year, we'll be able to have everything. But you know, not all the courses are going to be transferable in no matter what university you look at. So you know, if they give you any credits, it's gonna be like elective credits that they give for the courses that don't match up with them. But I know that I started looking at how we can match up completely for a lot of these CIS courses. So we're working on revising some of the stuff that's going to be matching up with the university, but university, they reserve the right to not accept everything. So it's, you know, it's still a business.
Yeah.
They gotta make you take the classes. But we do teach some of the upper division classes at the college level, like the CIS 41A. If you look at that at Cal State San Bernardino, it is an upper division class. But it will help you be prepared. You can definitely certify the CYSA. Here's another certification for you. Also by CompTIA. I do CompTIA because it's vendor neutral. You're not like Microsoft or, but you can take like vendor specific. So the analyst level after the specialist position is the CYSA. This is a harder test. So study for the Security Plus first, and that's going to give you the very, at least the foundation of security practices and things like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And, all right. CIS 27.
Thank you,
But
Professor.
yeah,
This
no
helps a lot,
problem.
just because
Yeah.
it's a very confusing field, at least in terms of where to start. That's why I
Mhm.
sort of like, yeah, I decided to get a degree in just computer science because everything's
It's
already.
it's good to have a bachelor degree because, you know, you can fall back on for a lot of things. What if you decide that you don't want to do security down the line, right? You might not. So you have something that you can also pursue. Maybe you can go into programming, maybe you can go, you know, so there are options for you. But bachelor degree will definitely is a good solid, you know, it builds the knowledge. But not only that, like some employers, they look for people with bachelor degree and some don't. They just, most employers in this field, they want you to have industry certification. If you have the bachelor degree, that's good. But you, if you have the skill set, you can do this all day.
Yeah, they would value experience and the certifications
Yeah.
over anything else.
I do apprenticeship, so the student that completed the classes, they can sign up for apprenticeship program, and apprenticeship program waive their tuition for the courses while they're in it. So you can take the whole certificate for, actually not the whole, but most of it for free. And then we help you build the experience.
How would you, I guess, sign up for that then?
After you take the classes, I think I put a link in your class, in the announcement. I think it's earlier on, but if you look at the announcement, oh no, I didn't, but I'll give you a link for it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we are doing a programming path for the apprenticeship, but it still needs to go for approval. And then you can, if you want to find out more, you can look at the website and the video. I'll give you the link. And that explains what it is. And then there's an application that you put on the bottom. So if you haven't taken the classes, you can also sign up for it. But what happens is when we forward your information to the employers, a lot of times, some student, they actually have the skill already. Like maybe you or people that already been learning this for a long time without taking classes. But what happened is the grant that is received through the apprenticeship through the state, it covers the classes that while you're in it. So we want you to earn credit. You don't have to pay anything, but at the same time, you have at least a certificate to show that you completed it. But the employers, they mainly check for your skills. So CIS 25, they ask for that, like, which is CompTIA A+, like computer maintenance, troubleshoot, support. So the A+ certification is important. And then because for IT employer, they started you in support. They don't start you in security. And then you work your way toward security. there got to be a trust before
Yeah.
before they allow you to do other things that's security related. Okay, so it's been like that for a long time. They haven't changed. And when I talk to them, they're like, well, your students, they got to make sure that they're comfortable in our network and know the infrastructure before we start giving them, security responsibility.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for all this information, Professor. I'm sorry if I took up too much of the time.
No,
It's just
no,
that,
no.
like I know you were, someone in this field.
I love it. I like to
Yeah.
share the resources if I can. Yeah, anytime. If maybe months from now, you can also send me an email. I'll answer your question.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
everything. Discussing. I'll do more research on all this. Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
I did have one more question about the lab.
Sure.
For like question or exercises 4 and 5,
Mhm.
what outputs did you want us to show? Because there's like multiple outputs that we could show.
Yeah, just when you test a program, I want you to test the program and show the output for your program. Like, how it asks you to input yes or no, or, depending on your program, how you design. Yeah, so if you put yes or no, then I just want you to test it and show what the output from your test.
Okay, so we don't have to show like one showing yes and no, and then the other one showing yes and
No.
yes.
I
Okay.
just want to see if it works. I can tell by your code already. But yeah, so when you take a screenshot, have the code and the output when you test it. One test is okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, Eric, take care. I'm going to sign off if you don't have any questions. Okay, have a good night.